All right, big news in the world of entertainment. Netflix has decided it will not renew its deal with Prince Harry and Meghan. It looks like the $100 million multi-year contract with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is set to expire in September, and that's where Netflix will leave
now the last of their big contracts. So they have no podcast. They have no As Ever products up for sale. She hasn't put up a new piece of clothing for her Shop My affiliate account on Instagram in weeks upon weeks.
Suddenly, Paramount Plus is being name-dropped like a lifeline. But let's be real, this isn't a power move. It's a rebound, a desperate one. Meghan and Harry are shopping their brand like it's still red hot. But every exec can smell the flop trail. If Netflix said no, and Spotify bailed too, what does Paramount get out of this? A royal headache? They're not blind. They've seen the spin. They're watching from the sidelines, not jumping in. Netflix didn't just walk away, they disappeared. No press release, no thanks for the memories, just straight up silence. In Hollywood, that's a message. Loud. This wasn't a quiet contract ending. It was a cold shoulder from the biggest player in streaming. And for Meghan and Harry, who thrive on narrative control, getting ghosted this hard, that's brutal. It signals the end of their media empire dreams. And worse, it says the royal name alone can't keep the cameras rolling. Netflix didn't just move on. They slammed the door and locked it from the inside. Sources say Meghan went through it. Full-on emotional roller coaster. First, denial. Then, quiet calls to Netflix execs trying to fix what was already dead. The kind of behind-the-scenes bargaining that smells like panic. She wasn't ready to let the deal go because this wasn't just a show. It was her comeback plan. Her control. And watching it crumble from the inside, that stings. Meghan's used to controlling the narrative, not chasing it. And this time, no interview, no Instagram post, no photo op could patch it up. Hollywood is loud, until it's not. And when Netflix chose silence over a statement, that was the mic drop. They didn't cancel with fireworks. They just stopped answering the phone. No season 2. No Bouvier. Just gone. And in an industry built on drama, that kind of exit means one thing. We're done here. Meghan and Harry didn't just lose a deal. They lost the ability to spin it. That silence? It's not neutral. It's rejection wrapped in velvet gloves. Soft on the outside. Sharp underneath. Archwell was supposed to be the next Obama's meets Netflix moment. But behind the mission-driven branding, it was a mess. Staff turnover, unclear direction, creative confusion. Insiders say it was all smoke and mirrors. Sure, it looked good on a pitch deck, but inside, no one knew what they were actually building. Meghan and Harry wanted a storytelling powerhouse. What they got was an overhyped PR project with no foundation. Archwell had the logo, just not the leadership. But doesn't pay the bills. And after the first wave of headlines, the numbers just didn't hit. Netflix gave them money, time, and the spotlight. And what came back didn't justify the hype. Meghan and Harry weren't just content creators. They were supposed to be change makers. But the content didn't land. Not in a lasting way. In this business, you either go viral or go home. And after one splashy docuseries, the audience checked out. The industry noticed. Netflix didn't just cut ties randomly. They saw the slow-motion collapse happening from day one. Insiders say the warning signs were there. Delays, rewrites, and projects that started strong but fizzled in development. Meghan and Harry's content was polished, but it lacked depth, and worse, it lacked consistency. They promised raw honesty and gripping storytelling, but Netflix watched pitch meetings turn into branding exercises. At some point, it became clear the couple wasn't a creative powerhouse. They were a PR risk. Netflix backed out not because of drama, but because they saw the ROI plummeting. Quietly, they started stepping away. No big announcements, just a subtle freeze. And that silence? It wasn't indifference. It was strategic. Let's talk hard numbers. Heart of Invictus was Harry's passion project, and it showed. But unfortunately, passion doesn't guarantee viewership. Despite powerful stories and emotional moments, the series barely cracked into Netflix's top 10. That matters a lot. Netflix tracks everything: retention, reach, buzz. And Invictus just didn't deliver. It didn't trend. It didn't spark conversation. No viral moments. For a platform investing millions, that's a deal breaker. The sad truth? Even when Harry played it straight and sincere, the audience didn't follow. Not because they didn't care, but because the couple's brand had already worn thin. And in this business, when your biggest win doesn't win over viewers, you've already lost the next opportunity. Spotify wasn't just a misstep, it was the start of a pattern. Meghan's archetypes launched with fanfare, big-name guests, and tons of hype. But after the initial splash, silence. The episodes felt more like TED Talks than podcasts. Scripted, careful, and a little too polished to feel authentic. Listeners dropped off, and Spotify took notice. Behind the scenes, execs were frustrated with the slow output and lack of direction. One Spotify insider even called them grifters, a word that stuck. When Spotify walked away, it didn't just hurt financially. It proved something dangerous. Platforms were starting to see Meghan and Harry as high maintenance with low return. 2 failed deals in a row. That's no longer coincidence. It's reputation damage. So what's the fallback plan? Rumors say Meghan is circling back to her old Tig persona. Lifestyle content, clean aesthetics, maybe a Netflix-style cooking show. It's a softer, safer pivot. But here's the catch. This isn't 2015 anymore. The influencer world is flooded with thousands of curated wellness brands, and Meghan's not a fresh face. She's re-entering the arena as someone whose big media bets collapsed, and audiences remember. The mystery is gone, the spotlight harsher. What once felt aspirational now risks feeling out of touch. Can she reinvent herself again? Maybe. But rebuilding from a brand that's been bruised in public isn't just a rebrand. It's a gamble. And right now, she's running low on goodwill and time. There's a reason people are whispering that Harry looks off lately. His usual fire? Dimmed. That cheeky royal confidence? Gone. And insiders say it's because he's finally realizing what the palace warned him about. Walking away from royal life wasn't just about stepping into freedom. It meant losing the infrastructure that protected and managed him. Now, there's no team filtering his moves, no royal advisors smoothing things over. Just Harry, raw and exposed. And when Netflix and Spotify walk away, who's left? For years, he thought he was building something new with Meghan. But without their media deals, the empire is just a shell. And the palace? They saw this years ago. That's the haunting part. They tried to tell him. He just didn't want to hear it. People used to talk about how calculated Meghan was, how every move was strategic. But now, that silence is starting to look like something else. Not mystery, not power, but panic. For months, she's been unusually quiet. No red carpets, no speeches, not even social media noise. And in Hollywood, that kind of quiet isn't power, it's retreat. It's a rebrand in crisis mode. Behind the scenes, there's buzz that she's switching PR firms, scrambling for a new image. But it's hard to reinvent when the last one never stuck. Meghan used to control the narrative. Now she's trying to outrun it. And the silence? It's not elegant. It's deafening. Because when someone disappears at the exact moment things start falling apart, it's never by accident. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Hollywood moves on fast. And lately, the couple just isn't hot anymore. Studios are distancing. Producers aren't returning calls as quickly. And the buzz? It's faded. Meghan and Harry had a moment, a real one, but they didn't capitalize on it. Now, newer, shinier stories are taking over. They're no longer the center of attention. And in this town, that's lethal. It's not about hate. It's about heat. And if you can't hold the room, you're out. Quietly, people are choosing to back away. The couple's brand is now seen as high risk, low reward. And when that happens, you don't get calls. You don't get meetings. You just fade, and no one rushes to save you. Remember when Oprah sat down with them and the world stopped? That was the peak. But since then, crickets. Oprah's no fool. She knows when a story's gotten too messy. She gave them her platform once, but she hasn't followed up. No new interview. No public support. Not even a vague post. That's not shade. That's self-preservation. People in her circle say Oprah feels like she did her part. She gave them the stage. But now, the fallout's getting too big, and she's not interested in getting dragged into it again. That kind of silence from a former ally speaks volumes. In media, who doesn't show up for you can be more telling than who does. And right now, Oprah's absence is loud. When a headline stops working, Hollywood's first response is to call on the crisis managers. Meghan and Harry have reportedly cycled through multiple PR firms in less than a year, and that's a massive red flag. This isn't just about changing a team. It's about trying to salvage a brand that's visibly unraveling. One insider said, "No firm wants to stick around because no one can control the story anymore. Every fresh PR pitch feels like a new spin on the same tired narrative. Silence, lifestyle pivot, soft leaks to soften backlash." But none of these strategies have stuck because the public isn't buying it anymore. The media sees right through it. Fans feel it's all smoke and mirrors. Meghan and Harry have become an overexposed headline machine with no real substance behind it. The irony? The harder they try to control the narrative, the more it spirals out of control. That's the tough reality when your brand fatigue hits critical mass. Remember when Meghan and Harry were surrounded by a buzzing inner circle of A-listers, industry moguls, and top-tier producers? That circle is shrinking fast. Allies are quietly distancing themselves, and some aren't so quiet about it. Emails go unanswered, calls are ignored, and dinners once filled with laughter are now mere memories. Why? Because in Hollywood, loyalty is as transactional as the deals you sign. When your projects flop and your name becomes synonymous with controversy, the cost of association rises steeply. No one wants to risk their own reputation by being too close to a sinking ship. The buzz is that many who once championed the Sussexes are now recalibrating, choosing safer bets. Meghan and Harry's brand was built on connections, but if those connections dry up, the whole operation starts to crumble. It's not just losing business partners. It's losing the very people who made the dream seem possible. Meghan's hoping to hit the reset button with a lifestyle comeback, a blend of high-end wellness, influencer chic, and Duchess-approved elegance. Picture a polished, glossy version of her pre-royal Tig brand. Sounds smart, right? But timing is everything. Audiences today are skeptical and worn out by celebrity comebacks that feel manufactured. The whispers about Meghan's new projects have barely stirred excitement, let alone anticipation. That a big problem. Back when she was fresh, her silence created mystique. Now, it's fueling doubt. Instead of waiting eagerly for the next move, people are folding their arms, waiting to see if this pivot will actually deliver. Reinvention is tricky, especially when your public image took a big hit and your every step is scrutinized. Meghan might be trying to create a new chapter, but the first pages feel like déjà vu of a story many are no longer eager to read. What's happening now isn't the grand finale. It's the slow unraveling in real time. Netflix's quiet exit, Spotify's fade out, Hollywood's distancing. These are just the early waves of a much bigger fallout. Rumors swirl about potential tell-all books, another explosive interview, and even possible legal battles. The Sussexes might try to wrest the narrative back, but the public and media have taken control. Questions abound, and skepticism is high. Meanwhile, the industry has largely moved on, seeking fresher faces and more dependable brands. Meghan and Harry stepped away from a monarchy to claim their own story. But what happens when the world stops listening? The silence isn't peaceful. It's the slow dimming of a once bright spotlight. And once that glow fades, it's hard to rekindle the fire. The story is far from over, but the next chapters will be the hardest yet. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.